Hey guys, welcome to the Gun Shop with me, Johnny. Today we're going to be looking at this, the Marocchi Fin 612 SC. So starting at the back, you have this soft-ish pad with interchangeable length, so you can chuck little spaces in there if you want and if you can find them, more importantly. Then we have a grade 2 walnut stock. It's not badly designed actually, it's a really nicely spec'd, nicely shaped piece of walnut. In the bottom you have a little screw stud, and that's inlet into the wood with a little thread into the middle, so you get with the gun a little stud that winds in. Kind of annoying if you don't want to use it, but certainly handy for some of this rifle's features we'll get into in a bit. The grip is not intentionally palm swell, but where it's quite radiused and not too flat, you have nice big cuts here. Actually, it feels like it fills a hand a little bit more than a standard pistol grip. Very nice. Checkering is a little bit odd, so it's laser cut checkering with no border, and you have actually a really beautiful design that runs all the way around here with this kind of triple loop around the back. Very different, very modern, but it is a very modern gun. Sort of ish by design, but certainly in looks. The action is a plain action, and we'll come back to the action design in a bit. The forend, the wood to metal fit on the forend there is kind of odd until you realise there is no forend iron. So it is a direct wood to metal fit. All the forend iron is actually self-contained inside the woodwork there. Quite a clever little design actually. And the barrels are multi-choked, 30-inch, vented mid and top rib, with a parallel top rib, twin bead sight, and a mounting rail on the back of the gun. So let's step back to the action quickly and have a little look as to why this gun is slightly different from anything you've seen recently. So let's start with the safety. It is an automatic safety with no selector. The selector is actually on the trigger, and you have this really large blade, and I mean, it's kind of strange, but you've got an arrow that points down, so you know the bottom barrel goes first when that's pushed in, and you have an arrow that points up on the other side when that's pushed in. The trigger design in itself is just non-conventional, but interesting. The whole thing could be described as very interesting. The action, headwork around the stock actually is wood to metal fit. It's very nice and is very well made. But where it gets funny is when you push this top lever across, a whole sliding breech face moves back there. And this is where the name Fin comes from. The fact Fin, finish, Tikka, it's a Tikka's designed action. So you'll see old Tikka Koviches with this same sliding top lock and some old Tikkas with that same sliding top locking bit there. How that works is you have these two cutouts, two lumps either side of the barrel there, and as it goes down, the cutouts in this shroud simply click over and hold the barrel in place. Quite clever, but not that clever. But what it does allow for is a very low profile action, which is, well, something different, isn't it? I did skim over the forend a little bit too quickly. It's quite a deep forend, and again, you've got that same stylized checkering that runs through it with the M for Marocchi on the bottom there, which is quite interesting. The real interesting thing about this gun is that it was available with different barrel sets. You could have this with shotgun barrels and double rifle barrels, and they all clipped together nicely, so you'd have spare barrels. As you can see, this is geared for a sight, so it's capable of taking slug, capable of taking steel, it's capable of doing whatever you want, up to and including put a sight on there. Very interesting ejector system, very interesting ejector retainer system, just a very interesting gun mechanically. I mean, absolutely fascinating actually. You've got this large metal clip that holds all your gear in place, very, very small ejectors on otherwise a very odd little action. But you can't help but be absolutely fascinated by whoever decided this was a good idea to make. Because it's a good gun, it's just very, very interesting, isn't it? It's slightly outside of the box. Alloy action, steel inserts, fairly standard. Again, steel trunnions that sit in there. And the whole thing is actually just a very delightful bit of kit, I must admit. Anyway, down to the disappointing point. There are very few of these new around nowadays. They've got stopped being made new about 5 years ago. However, they've been trickled out to this country ever since, and across the world. Spare parts aren't hard to find, but you know, spare barrels if you are after a rifle barrel set might be a little bit difficult. So now the bad part, well, this gun was stopped being made about 5 years ago, and they've been trickled out into this country and across the globe ever since. However, if you're after a rifle barrel set or anything like that, that's not really available anymore. So this rifle now sits into a technological curiosity, a curiosity gun. It's not horrible, in fact it handles really nice, it comes up quite well, maybe a little bit flat. I mean, even just from a technological point, look at the way it goes together. You have these lugs on the top here that you have to put it together, they have to follow this channel up and actually sit inside the ejectors. Even just that alone I find absolutely fascinating. It is just a engineering, I would not say masterpiece, but fascination piece. Anyway, sorry, going back, who is this gun for? Well, people who want a shotgun with a scope, somebody who just wants something a little bit different. Overall weight of 7 pounds 7, it's kind of in a bit of an odd weight class. It's neither heavy nor light in particular. For a gun of its weight class, of course it's going to be a little bit front heavy. Anything with an alloy action on a not hugely heavy stock is going to lend itself to being half an inch in front of the hinge pin. However, about 3/4 actually. However, at least they didn't put a big forend iron in, and they've kind of done a lot of things to dispel as much forend weight as possible whilst retaining a lightweight gun. It's just interesting, isn't it? And that's pretty much what I have to say about this. The Marocchi Fin 612 SC. It's pretty interesting, isn't it?